sometimes even in meditation, like I'll just get these like a face, and sometimes it'll just be one, but it'll start to fade. Is there a way that I could start to lean into that more, or like communicate? Like, what would you suggest I do?
Have a conversation with them. Ask them, who are you? Why are you here? It's a
Mm,
simple, you have to treat
yeah.
them as, see, when people go on the other side, their personality doesn't change.
Welcome to season 1 of Beyond the Human. Remember who you are. I'm your host, Hazel Ray, singer-songwriter, experiencer, and messenger for those walking the edge of remembrance just like me. This is not a podcast to convince you of anything. Really, just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is a transmission, a call to the ones waking up, the ones remembering, the starseeds, the sensitives, the truth seekers, bridging science and spirit. If you're listening to this, you are ready. So let's remember together.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Human. I'm your host, Hazel Ray, and today I have a very special guest with me. His name is TJ, and he is a medium and astrologer, and he has his own business, which he runs, which is Spiritual Guidance with TJ. So you can 100% book a reading today at some point. We'll give you all the details. It will be linked down below anyway. But I have so many questions. I can guarantee you this conversation will be a hoot. So make sure you stay around for all these little mic drop moments.
Oh, wow.
So welcome, TJ.
No pressure. Hello. Thank you for having me, Hazel. How are you?
Oh, I'm really well. I've been telling you off air that I have a sick child at home, so we may have some beautiful coughing in the background, but the show must.
I'll start it off for you. But you know.
Thanks, appreciate it. So
just for continuity.
Yes, yeah, thank you. So TJ, not only is you're not just doing readings like one-on-one, you do live shows with people as well in your hometown of Sydney. So if you're in that Sydney vicinity, I highly recommend. I had TJ recommended to me from Dale, who was the hypnotherapist who I had on earlier, I think last month. But yeah, so highly recommended, which is beautiful. But I wanted to get you on because I haven't had an astrologer on yet. I have had a psychic medium before, but psychic medium and astrology together, it sounds a little bit more, I don't know, I would say scientific based in a little way, because you're using, I suppose, the planets and the alignment of the stars to guide maybe where someone is in their time, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to ask you a question to sort of start the conversation off for the listeners. And the one that I actually really liked was, what's something about astrology or psychic work that most people completely misunderstand?
Two things. I think when people look at their birth chart, if we look at astrology only specifically, there's this very fatalistic point of view and predetermined sort of point of view. This is my life, and this is fate, and this is how things are going to play out. Yeah, sure, astrology and your chart is the map of your life, and it would indicate the themes and the stories and the situations that might play out in your life. But it doesn't take away the power, the agency, and the influence you have over your own life. Like, I remember when I was first studying astrology, we start with a controversial name here, but one of the first charts I studied was Osama bin Laden. But as part of the workshop, we weren't given the name that this chart belongs to this person. And I'm looking at this chart going, this is a highly intelligent man, and he can change the world. Now, unfortunately, he did so in bad ways. But this is where I go, that the power and the influence and the agency depends on you, how you choose to use what's been offered to you or what's available to you, if you like, if that makes sense.
It does. You
know what I mean?
I like to resonate with the concept that we all have light and dark within us. So we either choose to lean into the shadow or choose to lean into the light. I kind of even associate that with drug taking or drinking. It's like leaning into that shadow side, that low vibrational behavior, but it's always a choice, you know?
Absolutely. I think the other thing that people don't understand, and this I come from a professional perspective, like other professionals, is this issue of not understanding what your limitations are, as in everything can be predicted and everything can be forecasted, which I don't believe is true. I think you can do this job very well, but say, for example, to go down to the point of, if you're willy-nilly predicting someone's lifespan or when someone's going to die, I'm not sure that that's possible, or I would even say irresponsible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So these are a couple of things I find people don't understand and need to.
And I suppose that is a red flag. I spoke to the other psychic about this. Sometimes in this work, there would be red flags when it comes to specifically psychic mediums. If someone's going to literally tell you potentially that information, you know, and if they really believe in this and they don't understand that they have free will, I mean, I don't know. Does it become that self-fulfilling prophecy? Like stress is an indicator of creating sickness and dis-ease in the body, you know. So I suppose, what would be some red flags for my listeners if they're wanting to go and work with a psychic medium / astrologer?
Oh God, you're a tough question.
Yeah, sorry, it just came off.
Yeah, no, why not? Number one, let me put it this way: every reader, every psychic medium, astrologer has their own style. My belief and my opinion, the way I do it and the way I try to practice it with clients or with whoever, is I try to make this work as practical and usable as possible. So if everything becomes about things like, why do you doubt yourself or you're worth it, I am not sure that that's useful information. Yes, that's positive and that's affirmative, but that is not my job. My job is to forecast and to predict and to advise based on what's coming up for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the other thing I think the red flag is when people trying to take on the more therapeutic role, like try to be a psychologist or a therapist as opposed to be a reader. So,
yes.
And when we try and be a therapist for someone, and this is how you should handle everything in your emotional life, or this is what you should do about this situation or that situation. We can guide, we can't prescribe. Now, this idea, the other red flag would be, I mean, I've had readers say, I'm not going to name names, but I've had readers say to me, for example, when you ask for timing information, which is a very common thing, you know, you go to a reader and what is the first thing you're going to ask? When is this going to happen? And the answer I got from one of them was, you know, you shouldn't ask for timing. I'm like, well, why fucking not? Sorry, I'm swearing already. But I'm like, well, yes, timing is the hardest bit in my line of work. But to say that timing shouldn't be done or is impossible to do, I think is complete BS. And again, that's a red flag to me. The last red flag I often find in this day and age, and you often see this on social media, is when readers go on and on, everything is about healing and major transformation. And every full moon and every new moon is just going to change your life and turn your life on its head. Not really. I think that most full moons and most new moons are about turning a page in your life and nudging your life forward. I mean, how many life-changing moments you've had in your life? Yes, you've had major ones, but I would say I can count mine on my fingers, 5, 6.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like it's around those Saturn return times, though.
Correct. It will be. One of them will be Saturn return.
Truth be told, when I had I don't know which one it was, you would be able to tell me. It was when I was 32.
That's not Saturn return. That would be Saturn return happens from the age of 27 to anywhere between 27 to 29, 30, something like that. But,
it was in that time frame that the decisions were made, and then I blew up the life at 32 though. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So you're right. What happens is, if Saturn return, everything doesn't change in Saturn return, or I shouldn't say everything, a lot doesn't change in Saturn return. There's a lot of planting seeds that will have happened in Saturn return. Then that will take effect or grow later. So
just on that, now my brain's going off. The seeds were planted in the Saturn return. Obviously, I watered them and chose for change. If I don't choose for change in that Saturn return, do I go to relearn the lessons in my next? The same ones? Is that how it works?
Well, okay. So when you say Saturn return, let's stick to the Saturn return and Saturn cycle. When we say Saturn return, what is Saturn return? Saturn return is when Saturn comes back to the same point where you were born, where it basically comes back to the same point in the same sign in the sky when you were born. And that happens only every 27 to 29 years. So by direct definition, if you look at it, people will have 3 Saturn returns in their lifetime. First will be around 27 to 29, then will be late 50s, then will be, you do the math, late 80s, mid to late 80s, if you like. Does that make sense? So what happens with Saturn? So Saturn return it can be divided into 4 stages. Now, so if you look at your life and you look at your last Saturn return specifically, without going into too much technicality, I'll keep it simple. You look at age 7, age 14 roughly, and age 21, and you will see that what happened in your Saturn return will have correlated to what happened in those time frames for you, age 7, 8, 14, 15, 21, 22, something like that. So those years were a precursor to your Saturn return. Now, circling back to your question, that if you don't choose change in Saturn return, does that mean you wait till your next Saturn return? 30 years? Not really. What we're doing is we're dividing the cycle into 7-year increments. So what was seeded, what came up in Saturn return, will reach some sort of a turning point, or a turning of a page, or a turning of a chapter over the next 6-7 years.
Yep, and that's what happened for sure.
Yep. Yeah, so it's like, for example, saying that I changed careers at the age, or I left the corporate world in 28, 29, and at around 35, I became a professional. That's what happened with me. So I used to be a project manager, credit manager in Melbourne.
I actually wanted you to lean into that a little bit, because people forget that to walk the pathless path, or to follow the, the inner guidance, or your, what I would call your purpose. I mean, I feel that we have many. It doesn't necessarily always have to be one direct thing, but I've come to this work from studying neuroscience and being a secondary school teacher, and you've come to your work from
I used to be in credit management. I started being my first corporate job was a debt collector, and then I became a client manager, account manager, credit manager, whatever have you. But it got so boring. It got to a point where I can't do this anymore. But then, I also got healthy nudges from life. I always say this, that life will keep going. It'll keep giving you a nudge. You need to do this. You need to do this. And if you don't do it, ultimately, there'll be a little bit of a brick pat going, no, this is happening now. But I had those nudges where, for example, I went for my first ever reading years ago. And the lady said to me, you should go to, right at the very end, she said to me, you should go to Arthur Findlay College of Mediumship in London. And I said to her, I'm like, why should I? And she goes, because you're going to do this professionally. I'm telling her, I'm like, ma'am, you're a crack addict. And then I was in London, and I went to that college for a week, and I met my teacher and my mentor, who's passed away now, unfortunately, Mrs. Mavis Patilla. And she said the same thing to me, that you think you're here on a holiday, but you're going to do this as a job. And I'm going, all of you are on cocaine. So I guess, what I'm saying is, you'll keep getting nudged at by life, by forces, by angels, by God, whatever you believe in. Ultimately, the point is that you have to land on that pathway.
We discussed this when we had our little phone chat, and I liked using the analogy of the Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Yes.
And how, you get to the end of the page and it says, okay, if you want to, go to this place, you're going to go to page 20. But if you want to go to this place, you can go to page 14, which might be the next page. And then the idea is that you could have gone straight to page 20, but you choose to go to 14, and then you've gone to 15, and then you've gone to 16, rather than just going to page 20 because you didn't learn the lesson, or you didn't want to choose that path because it might have been the harder choice. But we always end up at the end of the book at some point.
Correct. Well, I think this is where, that's the only part where I would go, there are things that are fated and cannot be avoided. And this is where I go as a reader or somebody that's doing this job. My job is to discuss with you what might be fated, and around that, what is the advice. What I mean by that is, my belief would be that big topics like who you marry, or what you do with your life, or what country you live in, may well be fated. Now, how you get there, that might be your free will and your pathway to influence or change or shift or navigate how you want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I have a friend who was born in Australia, but her whole life, like the most textbook Aussie, blonde, blue eyes, just wanted to live in Italy. She's like, I'm just called. I'm supposed to be in Italy. My person's in Italy. And now she lives in Italy. She's had a little son over there. That's
beauty. My father used to tell me, he's passed away now, but my father, that when I was a child, I used to say from the age of 6 that I'm going to leave home and I'm going to travel the world and I'm going to live abroad. So I think from just that experience alone, I'm convinced that there's a birth home and there's a soul home, and eventually we'll go to the soul home.
Isn't it funny? And the other thing, like when you're talking about things that just you're knowing, I felt like as a child, my whole life, I've just felt like I had a message that I had to share with the world. And it actually felt like a burden for a really long time, because I was like, I'm not famous and I'm not this. And I'm like, I don't even know what this message is. And then as, I started to step into alignment, it all just started to unfold as to what that message might be and how that might be, I suppose, projected to the world and given to the world. Yes. And it doesn't have to be necessarily on Justin Bieber scale, but it just needs to be put out there,
Well, we're getting there. Why not? We're getting there.
In the city. No.
Met Gala, here we come. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what would I wear? That's the question.
What? Well, we'll discuss that later, darling.
Okay. I wanted to sort of let the listeners know, if they wanted to book in with you, what do you do with your readings? So obviously you're an astrologer and you're a psychic medium. So let's understand how you marry the two.
Okay. So when I work with you, so I'm doing psychic work, meaning that is hearing, seeing, feeling what I get from your energy. Then I'm talking to your spirit family, which will pass on information to me. That's through feeling or seeing. They give me images, they pass on words, they pass on thoughts. Now, when I say pass on thoughts, I'm going to do a little bit of an exercise, let's say, and just to make people understand what I mean by that is close your eyes. And because I just saw Devil Wears Prada, we're going to imagine Meryl Streep talking to us in our head. Because this is not turquoise, it's not lapis, it's cerulean. So now you open your eyes. So what you saw in your head is how I see dead people.
Oh, it's got buzzed.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, truth bumps, man. You're speaking the truth here. That's
correct.
Crazy.
So you see them in your mind, and the voice you hear, you heard not Meryl Streep, you heard your own thoughts, and in your own voice. Yes, you imagine Meryl Streep, sure. The point coming back to is, with dead people, you can be getting worse. I lovingly call them dead people, but your spirit family. They can pass me images, they can pass on thoughts, as in what the words, they can pass on feelings, as in a knowing this will happen or this will not happen, or this is good or this is bad, this is dangerous, this is fun, so on and so forth. And lastly, I look at astrology as in your birth chart. I use astrology as a GPS of time. Why? Because when I first started out, one of my frustrations with mediumship or dead people was, there is no sense of time. They'll go March, and I'm like, which March? 2027, 2029, 2030, what March? This is where you marry it up with astrology, and you go, okay, your grandfather is talking about your love life, and then I'm looking at your chart and going, when is the next most active period coming up in your chart in your love life? So point being, if you sort of use the logic of put two and two together, he must be talking about this period. Now, as I said, timing something to the exact is possible, but it's hard. Doesn't always work. Meaning, you can, I'll give you an example. Like, I had a girl come to me once, and this is quite some before COVID actually, and she walked into my office, and I said to her, I'm like, ma'am, you have a very good love period going. Are you dating a police officer? And she goes, oh, you're right. It is a very good love period, but I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, but it's not a police officer. He's a businessman. And I'm like, oh, okay, it must be for someone else. I'll leave it with you. 4 or 5 years later, she walks into my office again. She says to me that she's divorced and now she's dating a police officer.
I love that.
So, this is where you marry things up. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're using it as a guidance tool with the information that you're getting. And I suppose, like I said, it gives a little bit more, like, you can't really say scientific because they don't use it as a science anymore. But that correlation, we spoke about this, that correlation doesn't equal causation. That's like what we do with maths and science. Well, but there is correlation there with, I'm guessing, where the planets are. And I did do a little bit of research, and it was in the 1500s. It was such a science back then that doctors in Europe actually had to have studied astrology to be a doctor.
Well, Carl Jung used to use astrology to, with his clients. He used that as a tool to be able to work with his patients. So it's something as recent as that. This is not new.
No.
I mean, is it a science? It has scientific components, I would say.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is we are using astronomy as movement to study movements of planets and where planets are and the speed of planets and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But I would say astrology or even mediumship. My teacher used to say this because I asked her at some point. I remember asking Mavis, who's, as I said, passed away now. But I said to him, like, how do I know I've done a good job? And she used to say two things. She goes, TJ, especially with mediumship, and I'll tie it up to astrology, but especially with mediumship, if you've done a good job, you've made them cry out of emotion, not in a bad way. Number two, with this job, as ironic as it may sound, how effective you are is basically empirical study. What I mean by that is how many times in a reading do you say yes to me and how many times do you say no to me? And because I make clients record sessions, or not record it and listen to it later, you can basically do a statistical analysis of how many things have I said happen and how many not. Now, I understand that comes with its own limitations. Not everything can be timed, so some things may happen 5, 4, 3 years later. But do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it has scientific components in the sense that effectiveness of it is basically an analytical study. Did this happen or not? Did you move or not? Did you get a job or not? Did you meet someone or not? It's as simple as that.
Do you find that sometimes, sorry, this has just come to me, that you'll get someone who's potentially come to you, I'm sort of, I've got voices in my head as I'm saying this, but anyway, that's potentially not ready to hear what you have to say and they may block the reading. Does that ever happen, or is everyone that's coming to you is there and ready to receive?
I think with mediumship, what happens is they will never give information that you're not ready to hear. So your family knows you very well. They know what you're here for. They know what you need to know. They know what you need to hear. And the difference between mediumship and, say, perhaps your own thoughts and your own mind or your own imagination, I suppose, is that mediumship, as in your family, is coming from a place of love and kindness and support. Do you know what I mean? The difference is as follows. If I'm coming from a place, or if I'm just using my mind or imagination, or anybody, not just me. Say, for example, recently, I used a recent example. Somebody in a group reading asked me, will I have another child? They already have a child. And I said, unfortunately not. However, the reason being that the reason you're not going to have a child is what your family is saying. If you had another child, you'll stay in this same position, in the same place, with the same man that you're trying to leave. And that will keep you stuck in the situation that you're not meant to. You know what I mean? So that added component from her grandfather switches it to a place of love. Meaning that, they'll give you information in a way that you're ready to hear.
Which allows the potential to lean in a bit more.
Correct.
To the guidance. Yeah.
Correct.
So you've said some things I need to stop and go back to them. I've got two things that I wanted to talk about. Yes. One of them was, which was a question later on that I had, but we've come to it now about imagination and thought. So you just got me to close my eyes and think about Meryl Streep, and I thought about her, and you've said to me that this is sort of how you will receive a message. So how can you discern between what is your imagination and what is message?
Well, it's going to sound cliched and very simplistic, but the only way to get to that point of knowing what's the difference is practice, repetition. And what I mean by that, it's like going to the gym, for example. You're not going to lift 100 kilos or bench press 100 kilos straight away. You'll start with
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Look at these pecs, man. The difference I find is when you're coming at it mediumistically, as in if my father's talking to me, he's talking to me with love and kindness and gently, but he's also being, I suppose, he's trying to help, and in that he's being honest. Whereas if something is my imagination, often our anxiety comes in. Something bad's about to happen. Yes, this can happen, but what if I fuck this up this way or that way? Do you know what I mean? So that's the difference. It feels gentler when you get something with mediumship. It just feels like there's a droplet of thought that comes through here, even if it's your own voice. Whereas if it's your own brain or your own imagination, I get it on the sides and it feels more fear or headachy.
Interesting.
And I ignore that.
Well, I do discuss on this channel and when I do my shows about trying to inform people how it is very scientific to understand that we are just antennas and we receive frequency. We receive it all the time. The reason why we see is because we receive light frequency. The reason why I can hear is because I receive, my brain is able to transpose certain frequencies in the bandwidths into and decode the electrical and chemical impulses as thought, or what I hear, or what I see, or what I feel. But what's been lost is in ancient times, we did get taught that thought was the sixth sense, which is how you actually receive message from the, I would say, the field of information that is around us, like Wi-Fi. We can't see the Wi-Fi and we can't see the ancestors trying to talk to us either, but they are. Yes. And I try to explain to people too that we all have this ability. It's just you're more tuned in because you've sat and, like you said, fine-tune. You've done the reps to know the difference.
Yep.
And I was just going to say, I try to encourage people to sit and listen and be the observer. And one of the things I notice, which I discussed with you, was that I hear you thoughts when something is talking to me, and I hear I thoughts when I'm like self-generating.
And I think when you're getting messages from the other side, they're more guidance oriented.
Yes.
Whereas if I'm imagining things or I'm thinking, or if I'm overthinking, it's more, I don't want to say catastrophizing, but it's always worrying about what will or will not happen. My father that's on the other side doesn't worry about what will not happen. He is guiding me so that I can take the next best step. What I mean by that is, again, let me give you an example. I had a client once, ages ago, a few years ago, and our reading was almost done. This is online, and I'm like, one more thing. I want you to get checked, because your grandfather keeps telling me you need to get checked for a health issue that you've had before. I'm not going to say too much more, but except it runs on your father's side of the family. Go get checked for that, and you'll know what it is. And the guy was completely fine at the time, and he asked me, he goes, should I get checked straight away? I'm like, pretty much, like as soon as possible. And what ended up happening, he got checked and got a double bypass surgery.
Wow.
Even though there was nothing wrong with him. Now, this is where I go, that there's a message coming from the other side, and it came as a piece of guidance, not as if it was my fearful imagination, I would have gone, oh my God, you're going to die, you need to do something. Whereas the other side is a lot more calmer, and they're just going, well, this is the thing, this is the issue, this is the line of thought, father side of the family, health issue, go get checked. Exactly.
Oh, it's your washing machine.
Yes, it's a dryer.
I have a washing machine that does the same sound.
Oh dear. Well,
I thought it was done by now. That's fine. I've had it on my show before, so my audience will be accustomed to the washing machine. I actually have a question for you, which I didn't ask the last psychic, but you spoke about this. I wanted to ask you might not have the answer for me, but ever since I was young, sometimes, doesn't happen all the time, but when I'm sort of getting into sleep and I'm in that really like in between sleep and deep sleep before falling asleep, I get these flashes of people's faces and they're really fast, but they're like what I would call a negative. Do you remember the negative pictures that you used to get? So there's like light in places where it would be dark, but if I could draw, I'd be able to draw the most intricate pictures of these people's faces, and I've never understood what it is. Have you got any idea, or have this ever happened to you?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's your spirit family trying to connect with you, essentially. It's people that are around you trying to connect with you. It's not, I wouldn't say it's ghosts or anything unless you felt something terrible or fearful or something happening. Why do I say that? Because when you're in this half sleep, half not sleep kind of state, your conscious brain is shut down or slowing down. So you don't have time to question or overthink it. Who is this or what is this? I'm just doing it. And that's really what it is they're trying to be around you, whether they're trying to give you guidance or just send you healing energy, power, whatever may be happening, depending on the scenario and the state of your life. That's my simple experience.
And if that happens again, because it does happen, sometimes even in meditation, like I'll just get these like a face, and sometimes it'll just be one, but it'll start to fade. Is there a way that I could start to lean into that more, or like communicate? Like, what would you suggest I do?
Have a conversation with them. Ask them, who are you? Why are you here? It's a simple, you have to treat them as, see, when people go on the other side, their personality doesn't change. My father on the other side still loves whiskey. He still wants to watch television after dinner for an hour. So if he's coming, and he still will want to talk to me about finances and property and this and that. He wouldn't talk to me about emotional stuff. That'll be my grandmother. So where I'm going with this is, ask them, who are you and why are you here? What do you want to talk about? What do you have to say? And you might get a thought, you might get another image, you might get another flash, you might get a sensation in your body. And that will be your answer.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
No, I thought you were going to say you.
Yeah, no. The other thing I find, it's almost like treating it, and I take it back to the idea of analysis and almost making it an empirical study. Every time you see them, you ask them a question. You hear a thought, and you can do this with tarot cards as well, by the way. You ask a question, you get an answer, whether that's a thought or an image. You type it in an Excel spreadsheet, whether you do it hypothetically. And then you've built up a database, let's say over 6 months, that tells you, I saw this was the question, this was the outcome. And therefore, now I know that, how do they communicate with me on the other side?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Is that what you did when you were learning?
I made a mental database, to be honest. I'm not disciplined enough to make a fucking Excel spreadsheet, but you know.
I did actually start like years ago, before I went through my awakening, because all this stuff was happening a lot, and I would feel spirit around me all the time. And I started opening it up, and I started drawing symbols and bits and bobs and what I felt like that. And then I just got so scared that I just went shut it all down, until I went through would call my dark night of the soul. And now I'm not scared at all. I have no fear. And it's just something that I haven't necessarily lent completely into, but I do listen to guidance, as in when I'm meditating or when I'm journaling, like that's me connecting. But in terms of what I would say, trying to work out who is talking and who I'm connecting with, I haven't really lent into that.
Well, you don't even have to worry about that. I'm saying, even if you get the answer or not, excuse me, but just talk to them. Why are you here? What do you want? How are you feeling? Who are you? Just regular chat.
I just want to go back to astrology for a minute, because I sort of we go into the psychic stuff, and I find it also fascinating, and so do my listeners. But in terms of astrology itself, what really is it? So how did people get their natal chart? Like, give me a bit of a snapshot about what it really is. We went right into the Saturn return and kind of skimmed over some of the earlier parts.
Yeah. So astrology basically is a study of a snapshot of the sky when you were born, depending on the location and the time you were born. And if we know your time of birth and the location of your birth, and I'm assuming we know your date of birth, but if we know that, we can establish what is your rising sign. And a rising sign is basically, it's the sign or the zodiac sign rising on the eastern horizon when you're born. And we look at that and we go, okay, this gives us, now why is that important? It's important because it allows us to establish, if you know what houses are in a birth chart. There's 12 houses: first house, second house, third house, 12th house. And every house has its own meaning. And when I know your rising sign, I can assign particular planets taking care of or managing or ruling certain areas of life. Now, I know that Venus in general is associated, for example, with love and marriage and beauty and so on and so forth. Not in everybody's chart. Yes, sure, in general, not in everybody's chart. Like my chart, the ruler of relationships is the moon. Now,
and what does that mean for you? Can you just tell me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So, I mean, it can mean a lot of things. Now, my moon is in Scorpio. It's in the 11th house. That means one of the simple significations of it is that I'm supposed to meet a partner or through friends, and I did. Or, you know, I'm supposed to meet a partner that's got great emotional depth or great intuitive and sharp and resilient and has had this rebirth quality in his life, and that's happened. Do you know what I mean? So it's been cute that way. The moon ruling relationships would also mean that me as a relationship person is particularly oriented towards partners that treat partnership as a home and a family. I am not, or this idea of establishing a home and family. I may not be I personally, as a person, may not be that inclined to a relationship where I travel the world. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That won't be my ultimate goal. That won't be the driving force, depending on how my chart is. But for somebody else, maybe a totally different situation. So
Yeah.
astrology is basically a snapshot of it's a study of the snapshot of the sky when you're born. We're taking all the planets where they are and how they're placed in relation to each other, and then understanding what themes, stories, situations, connections you might be navigating in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can look at, as I said before, you can look at Osama bin Laden, you can also look at Mother Teresa, and you can see those themes without even looking at those names. Now, can you go into the exactitude of things? Probably not. Sometimes you can.
What are your thoughts on some of the apps out there, like the Pattern? I think it's the other one's
Oh, don't get me fucking started. Look, I think
how accurate are they for you? Like, what are people using confirmation bias in there? Like, what's the thoughts there?
Confirmation, that's enough. That's another touchy subject. I'll address both. Look, the apps, I mean, if they're being used as entertainment, or if they're being used as sort of a happy, funny, fun, friendly thing, I call it pop culture astrology, which is what the apps normally talk about. When I say pop culture, these are apps or magazines that will go, oh my God, you're a Libra, so you must love balance. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Or because you're a Scorpio, you're a bitch. And I was like, not really.
I'm a Scorpio and I don't think I'm a bitch.
No, exactly. Well, you know, being a Scorpio, it can mean you have a lot of resilience. You're a very good strategist. You'll be great at, for example, chess of life you're good at, so to speak. Thinking 10 moves ahead. That's one of the things. I mean, again, there are 100 things. But yes. I think that if you look at apps as entertainment and fun, sure, I have no problem with it. If you're treating it as proper astrology, it is not.
What's an experience, if you've got one, that you've had as a psychic medium that you still can't fully explain? That's just out of this world.
Yeah, sure. So, I'll go with the client. I would go with the client experience, then I'll go with my own. Yeah. One, I remember saying to a client, and this is when I'm new, so when you're first starting out, you still have, I have doubts even now, but when you're first starting out, you keep thinking, I'm talking out of fucking thin air. Am I making any sense to anybody? You have because you're human. And I remember talking to a lady and I said to her, I'm like, oh, do you have kids? Yes. How many? 2. I'm like, you're going to have 2 more. And she goes, I don't even want 1 more. And I'm like, I think you're going to have twins. And 2 years later, she ended up having twins. And at the time, she hated me. She thought I was stupid, didn't know what I was talking about, and so on and so forth. And I still can't get over, how do you get that information? How does that come through, and why does it come through? And the reason why that had to come through was that she had to get ready, or she had to be pushed into starting her own business and leaving a job because she needed to be home with 4 kids. I'm not saying the father doesn't need to be, but the father had a job where he was traveling in and out of town. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was prepping her for that. The other sort of experience I've had is that my own is one of the first readings I ever had is somebody told me that I had a spirit around me. This psychic from Sydney called Steve, who was gay, and he died in the HIV/AIDS crisis, unfortunately, in the 1990s. And he'd gone to the same college, Arthur Findlay College in England. And I went, bullshit. Of course there's nobody like that around me. So when I went to Arthur Findlay, I went to reception and don't tell anybody I said this, but but I'm saying
tell the world, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll tell the world, but exactly. But I basically found a way to double check whether a guy called Steve had gone to Arthur Findlay. And he had. And every hair in my body stood up. Now, I forgot about this whole experience. This is 2014-15. Then years later, which would have been 18-19, I believe, I was working at a shop called Nature's Energy in Glebe near Sydney. And this old lady walks into my office and she says to me, I used to see a psychic called Steve and he told me to come see you when I was walking past today.
Oh my God.
And I know. And if I had ever any doubts about mediumship or spirits around me, that day they were completely gone.
I love both of those stories, and what I love about them is that I have had similar experiences, but the connection between the two is we were both brave enough to listen and lean in and just go, okay, like, what are the chances? What could possibly happen if I just lean in and maybe listen and trust this? And I sometimes play games with the universe where I'm like, okay, I've got a day off. I'm like, where do I go today? And it'll be like, go to the salvo shop. And then I'm like, okay, and I'll go there. And then these weird things will happen where I'll meet someone or a conversation will happen. And even this morning, I got a phone call before I came on with you about aligning some new work that I've got coming. But I was saying yesterday, I'm like, give me a sign this is actually going to come to fruition. And automatically today I got the phone call. I was like,
oh man,
hallelujah.
There you go. Yeah.
We shall see. It's watch this space. I can't talk about it yet, but it's exciting. In your experience, what are people really looking for beneath the surface? What are they coming to you for?
I think if I boil it down to just one thing and one thing only is everybody wants to know that they're going to be okay and their loved ones are going to be okay. It doesn't matter what the question you're asking me. Whether you're asking about love or home or family or health or money, ultimately we're asking that I am okay, my loved ones are okay, people on the other side that have left this world but are around me in spirit, they're okay. That it boils down to as simple as that. Yes, there's specifics and we all have our daily anxieties and shit. Ultimately it sort of goes, just, am I going to be right? Hope.
You think you're right.
And my job, I see it as I want people when they work with me to walk away with sort of, I suppose, the value add I want them to walk away with being able to make informed decisions and being able to use the information that comes through in their daily practical life to make sure that they'll be okay. Whether that's in navigating an iffy situation or whether that's capitalizing on opportunities that might be coming, both ways. What I mean by that is, for example, I remember telling a friend once, and she's also a client, I said, you might be losing your money. You might want to save money or put away some of your money with your sister or your mother who you can trust for a rainy day. And through a series of circumstances, she lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. As a result, I'm not going to go into specifics, but she got into a relationship which was toxic. 6 months, all the money gone. And so the point of the guidance being not that you're going to lose your money and you're going to be broke. The point being that this is coming. How can you manage this better?
Yeah. One of my other questions was, how do you think your work genuinely changes someone's life, and how? And that's exactly how. We're using it to make informed decisions, yeah?
Absolutely. Informed decisions. And I think my favorite example is the one I gave you about the heart surgery. The other one would be these are all recent examples, so I remember them clearly. But I had a lady come to me who I didn't have very good news for in terms of having a child, and but the point was that her health was getting hammered with IVF treatments, and obviously the financial cost of it all as well. So the point of God, and she'd had 6 or 7 treatments or 6 or 7 IVF attempts, still no baby. And the first thing that came through for her was, you either need surrogacy or adoption. The door to the family is not shut, but you need to explore different routes.
Did she come to you and tell you she'd been having trouble, or is that something that you pick up? And my question with that too is, should people come to you with a question, or can they come with you for just like a general reading, or how do you prefer to work with people? Yeah, okay.
Both. So I do general readings, but I have a service called one question readings, where you send me a specific question, yes, no question, a direct question. When I say direct, it has to be direct. Whether it's will I get this job, will I get this house, will I marry this person, will I have a baby in the next 12 months, and the answer. So I work with astrology and spirit. When I say astrology, there's a branch of astrology called horary astrology, which basically means horary comes from the Greek word or Latin word aura. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but which means of the hour, which essentially means that at the time I receive your question, we take it as the birth of a question, and the birth of a question becomes therefore a birth chart for that question, and I'm analyzing that chart to answer your question.
Wow, that's actually really cool. Like wherever the
Yeah.
planets are aligned at the time of the question.
Mm-hmm. So there are various techniques to answer different types of questions, and then you'll also work with spirit in that and see, okay, this is a no, but what's the best path forward? Meaning, again, if you use the example of the lady that I gave you, yes, we're not having baby through IVF, but what's the best way forward? Now, with her specifically, like you asked, she'd ask me a direct question: will I conceive and when?
Yeah.
But if I'm doing my job right, then in a general reading as well, the issue of kids and having kids will come up, and health and so on and so forth. And then you go into it that way.
And how long do your readings usually last?
They can be anywhere between half an hour to an hour. I have clients that go for 90 minutes, 2 hours sometimes. When I start working with you, I would suggest start with, I'm maybe killing my own business here, but from an ethical perspective, I prefer to start with 30 to 45 minutes, just so that we make sure that I'm connecting with you and I'm not wasting your time and money. And then if we need longer, we have longer, sure, we go for it.
Do you know, it's funny, the people that I interview on here so far, everyone has done something similar where you love what you do. It comes across, you love what you do so much that you're willing to be like, it's my gift. We're here to give. Yeah. And then I did it. My last episode was on the cycle of giving and receiving. You know, we have to give to receive and keep that flowing. So then with that, I just want to ask you, for the audience, it's like, why do you do what you do? What is it that keeps you going?
Well, I think, that's a tough question. One, I had no choice really. I was told, as I said, by an old lady in England, which at Art of Finley College in 2014-15, that you're going to do this professionally. And I still didn't, by the way. And COVID happened. I was running a film school. I was the head of production of a film school, which is Sydney Film School. And then COVID happened, film schools lost funding, and I ended up being full-time at this job. Why do I do what do I do? I love it. I think that there's something so fascinating about why something happens, how does the information comes through, what is the correlation between, or how do stars map or correlate with what's happening downstairs on the earth. And it's exciting to me. The other thing I would say is, in my own life, when I first started getting readings, some of the experiences or the guidance or the information that I got was so shit that I went, I am going to learn this properly. And therefore give as much practical, real information as possible.
And I do love that you actually have lent a little bit into you do speak, because I think you've got a little bit of a corporate mind, about statistically analyzing your own work, listening back. How many yeses did I get? How many no's did I get? You know, am I actually connecting, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I think I say this because I used to ask my teacher, Mavis, again. I used to ask him, like, how do you deal with, or what do you do with, it relates to a question you asked me before about red flag psychics or red flag mediums. And she used to say to me, TJ, people are not stupid. In the end, somebody would go to such a person once, twice, 3 times. The 4th time, or the 4th person would realize this is bullshit. It's not working. So the only way you'll see that you're doing a decent job or a good job, or people are loving you for what you're doing, let's hope, is, are they coming back? Are they sending people to you?
Yeah, 100%.
And over there, I speak to the commercial aspect of the business, because whether it's a spiritual business or whatever it is, whether it's a creative business, ultimately it is a business as well.
My mum went and saw a psychic medium when I would have been, she'd be able to confirm this, but I reckon I was about 9. I would have been less. I was younger. I would have been about 7, because I was in my old bedroom. Sorry, I'm picturing it in my head now. And Mum's got a recording of it, and she actually says that I'll be performing, but I'll have a stint where I have trouble with my mental health and I'll have an eating disorder. But my mum didn't tell me any of that. And it wasn't until I struggled with my eating disorder in my 20s, she actually showed me this. And I was like, that is wild.
It is. No,
you know,
and that's what I'm...
It's not that it's genuinely super common, but I had a proper diagnosed eating disorder. It's not like I had like disordered eating and, like, you know, because that could be, again, a confirmation biasy looking thing. Yes. But no, it was a real fact. And she was really on point with a lot of other things that I've gone to do in my life. I hadn't even started playing music then, and I started playing piano when I was 12, and that was right back when I was 7. So I mean, I don't have to convince myself. I'm already like connected and I get it and it makes sense to me. But the whole point of this channel is to try to get other people to start questioning and leaning in. And maybe it's your conversation that we have today that they're like, this might be the guy, because you are genuine. Like, I can feel your energy when I sit here and talk to you about how much you love what you do.
Thank you. Well, you know,
so
should I be stroking a white cat while you say this?
Oh my God. I absolutely love this. I want to do this again, by the way, but I do have a closing question before we do the whole ending. But what's one truth about being human that you think we've forgotten?
That we are relational species. We are not, every man is not an island. One of my worries when I work with clients, people, friends, family, I think I just feel like aloneness or being an island or independence is being glorified. I've got absolutely nothing against independence. I think that's something really, really to aspire for. But in therapeutic models, and if I link it to science, as you said before, independence is the adolescence or the early stage, the developmental stage of life or personality. Where life becomes fulfilling is interdependence. And when you have mom, dad, whether it's partner or best friend, people around you, basically, we're relational species. And why I say that is I hear this commentary about healing. I'm healing and I'm taking space and I'm taking time out from life because of this or that or whatever have you. But you cannot heal relational trauma without being in relationships.
Yes. Amen to this.
It is not possible. Now, I don't mean to say you steal, I don't know, someone's husband tomorrow, but that'll be me. But I think, but you know, Chris Hemsworth's Here I Come. But I think it's more understanding that I need the relational component is very important, and that may start with the healing side of that. May start with, even if it's a psychologist, even if it's a therapist, even if it's a reader. Why? Because the body needs to adapt to the fact that I can be safe in relationships. And I think
really resonate with that, especially with what I've been going through recently. And everyone's like, oh, you got to have a certain amount of time. And I'm like, what is time? Number one, it's a man-made construct. And number two, how do I work on my triggers if I'm not being triggered?
Exactly. See, yeah, exactly. You know, people talk about self-love and all that, and that's fantastic. Again, if I put it in the context of we're a relational species, one of the components of self-love is healthy boundaries.
Yes.
I can have all the fucking healthy boundaries when I'm sitting at home alone.
Except for the one where you're like, don't eat the chocolate, don't eat the chocolate, don't eat the chocolate. You're going to really work on that.
Exactly. Well, you know, or don't order pad thai again. But the real fucking healthy boundary work will be when I'm out at the pub with my friends going, not 2 wines, I'm done.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
This is where I go. So my worry and my sort of this thing that I keep driving home to people is we are relational beings.
Yeah.
And I think that we're at a point where, unfortunately, self-sufficiency is being confused as isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is simply not true.
Oh, that's a mic drop moment right there. Say that again. You said...
self-sufficiency is being confused as isolation.
Yes. I felt that even in my own work of late. Yes. And you feel that you've got to, because I'm a single mom too, so it's like triumphant, and and that's me working on leaning and receiving from people and asking for help, and it's okay. And because we've been so drummed in that to be powerful is to do it all on your own, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I can't do it. I'm dying.
One of the I was listening to a comedy show recently by a lady called Dulce Sloan. She's this African-American girl. And she was talking about feminine. She was making jokes, by the way. But she was talking about independent women and independent women. And she goes, I want to be a dependent woman. I don't want to work. I'm like, touche. So,
yep.
But I'm not saying we have to go to that extreme, but
no,
it's
all right.
Yeah, it's just we've got to make fun. We've got to have
And what's one takeaway for my listeners today that you would hope that they should take away from our conversation?
that this work is real, practical, and supportive. If you go to have a reading, whether with me or anybody else, I would prefer it with me. But well, hello, shameless plug. But I think if you're not walking away with something that you can act on or look forward to or anticipate in the next 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, then what I'm probably money wasted. And I mean that at a practical level.
Yeah.
And this is where you've got to be just very careful of who you speak to and not, or for what purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
If you keep hearing in a reading or somebody, what are you worried about? And don't doubt yourself. And it's like, I'm like,
I've had it before. I've had someone telling me what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have the confidence at the time with the reader to be like, that's actually not even happening in my life. But okay, keep telling me that that's what's happening. Like,
exactly.
So grateful having you on. It's been an absolute. It was a hoot. I said it was going to be, and my actual abs and my cheeks are sore from smiling.
Oh, thank you, my darling. No, it was an absolute fun. It was a lot of fun.
I think everyone will agree. Your energy, again, so genuine. So if you want to book a session with TJ, I will put all of his links and everything to do that down below in all the information. I always finish by saying, remember, the world doesn't need saving, people do. And if we give the people the tools to save themselves, we save the world. And this is a tool. TJ's a tool. He's got tools. He's actually got 2 of them that he can share with you to help guide you on your journey. So if you are on Spotify, please follow. If you are on YouTube, please press the subscribe button. If you're on Apple Podcasts, follow as well. But at the end of the day, sharing this helps me grow, helps me share the message, helps TJ grow. So please do that. And I'll see you next time. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.
becomes possible. So what if I told you? What if I told you I was alien and not just me, but so were some of your friends? Would you believe in something greater than just what you hear on the television? What if I told you I was alien? On the television, what if I told you I was alien? What if I told you I was alien? If what's impossible becomes possible, and what is possible was never true, it's not impossible. Would you believe
Would you believe me? Could it be true? I'll leave that to you.
Definitely. The boat when there's like
It's real cars going in the background.